Welcome to this week's Ask EMBN show, where we're going to be talking about hardtails, extenders and dongles.
And that critical question about size. What size e-bike should you buy? All coming up on today's Ask EMBN.
We got this one in from Christian Fit. Hi, I'm thinking about buying a Levo, but undecided on what size to buy. I'm 5'10" and don't know whether medium or large, as they say this year's bikes are larger.
Yeah, totally. But first of all, the whole matter about sizing on e-bikes, or any bikes for that matter. Now, if you buy a bike that's too small for you, it's going to have a huge impact on your comfort and your fatigue on your ride. If your bike's too small, you're going to be always overcompensating, because that bike is simply, you can't get the balance in the center of the bike. At the same time, if the bike's too big for you, Chris.
Yeah, if it's too big for you, you're going to feel like you're actually riding like on that bike rather than in it. You know, that seat's going to be right up your bum when you're riding it. You're going to be outstretched. It's just not going to be very comfortable, especially when it comes to that more technical style of riding.
Yeah, but it's all relative. Now, the big thing to consider here is the fact that all bike manufacturers have a different interpretation of sizing on their bikes. But let's focus in now on the Specialized Levo. Now, you're talking about buying a 2019 Specialized Levo. Now, I'm 6 foot, just to get things in perspective here. I'm 6 foot and I can ride either a large or an extra large Levo at 6 foot. And I can simply do that by, if I need the large Levo to be bigger, I can simply raise the stem in the steerer tube. I can slide the seat a little way back, and that gives me almost one size difference in fit. Now remember, we're talking about two things as well. We're talking about fit, which is adjustable on a mountain bike, and sizing, which comes as stock. Now, if I was riding the extra large Levo, which I can do really easily, all I need to do is have the seat further forward in the sliders and then drop the stem down to the head tube and have a lower height bar. It's as simple as that. Now, the critical thing is that sizing, which you cannot change. Now, what I want to point out is the 2018 Levo. The sizing on that is 430 millimeter reach for a large and 456 millimeters for extra large. Now, if you compare that to, say, a 2019 Levo, the numbers are 455 for a large and 480 for an extra large. Now, I would say that it's definitely a large that you need to be riding for a 2019 bike, because if you compare a large Levo to, say, a high bike X-Duro or, say, a Canyon Spectral, check out the numbers on these bikes. So for a similar size large on a high bike, it's 467, so that's quite a bit bigger than the Levo, and 465 for a large on the Canyon. So, as I said, it varies between manufacturers, so I'd highly recommend you go for a size large Levo on the Specialized. But the thing is, it's up to you to go and try these bikes out. And by try out, I don't actually mean go and sit on the bike in the shop. You actually need to go out and ride the bike for at least an hour at a time to get the feeling for it. And as I said, swap the stems and the seat around to get a good idea what you can do in it.
Yeah, also Steve's done an excellent video on this about choosing that correct size bike, so that'll be down in the description below as well, so check that one out.
A great question, Christian, great question. Question in from Dario.
Hi guys, in the recent 10 top tips that Chris hosted, I noticed he was wearing a black wind cheater jacket with the EMBN logos. Are there plans to bring this to the EMBN store anytime soon?
Would you be talking about this one?
No, that's the puffer jacket, that one.
Ah, right, okay.
So it's the wind cheater version. Unfortunately, it's not available at the shop, but what we have is the puffer jackets that are available. Really cool. They're really good out on the trails as well. Keep you super warm, and they will be coming out soon. But just, yeah, keep an eye on the store. But in the meantime, loads of other good content in there. T-shirts, hats, you name it, it's all in the shop. But yeah, puffer jackets. This is what you want.
Warm, Chris.
This is what you want for winter, isn't it?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Next question's from David Logan. I have a suspension-related question, maybe for GMBN Tech, but it's for a Kenevo e-bike. So here goes. I'm looking to upgrade the 2018 RCT3 Lyric on the Kenevo, as I've always found it wasn't up to much. Poor small bump sensitivity and low mid-stroke support. My question is, what would you do if you experienced the 2019 Debonair Spring upgrade or the Vorsprung lift cap upgrade, and which would you choose? Or would you just change it for a 2019 Fox 36 Grip 2?
It's a pretty capable fork. I've had no problems on mine.
I think it comes down to setup. I've never, ever had any problems with that RCT3 Lyric.
Yeah, maybe get along to one of the suspension tuning companies, get that fork dialed in.
I think it's just a question of maintenance and I think you can read a lot of hype on different websites about forks and suspension and shock absorbers, and like I said, I think that Lyric is a bloody good fork. And if we've done a video with Nico Vulios, and I think he says more about using more air pressure and less hydraulic damping on a fork.
I think a big thing with suspension as well, you can constantly mess around with the settings as well. What I really like to do is just stick it in one sort of setting that I'm happy with and get used to that fork and the way that bike handles, rather than keep changing different PSI in this leg and adding a bit more rebound and compression. I just get used to that setting and get used to it, and then make those little, rather than going out every ride and clicking around. And
I think the bottom line, Chris, is that you're going to be expecting a performance advantage by spending more money on a fork. And I'm dubious with you how much performance advantage you're going to get by spending more money. I think that fork is a good fork.
A battery with a good range, a smooth running motor, they're clearly key to a good e-bike experience, but they're going to be less than efficient if you haven't got a good suspension setup on your bike, one that offers comfort, grip and control. And the thing is, people are keen to tell you how to rather than why to. So in this video, we're going to be going into why you should set up your suspension correctly rather than how to. After all, a lot of the time, that's a rather hit and miss affair.
David Steed's got in touch. Hi guys, was wondering if you had any feedback on the Levo range extender bottle through your tech channels. Interested to hear what you think, as range is still a big issue.
Yeah, they're there. You can fit them to your bikes, but it voids your warranty. We had Georgia on the show earlier in the year to tell us, she's from Specialized. She says you need to be very careful if you do that. Next up from Ian Nash.
Loving the site, guys. Can't afford new, so I need opinions on the best manufacturers of motors, second hand. Full suspension to hit the trails hard.
Ooh.
Good question.
I think it's not only manufacturer, you need to be looking at maybe getting a bit of history on the bike that you're buying, right?
Yeah.
How much travel, I guess. I guess a longer travel bike is going to have had a harder time than a short travel one.
Yeah, I'd try and get one of those bikes or motors that connect to your phone, so you can get a good history of that bike. Like Steve said, I think like the Bosch and the Yamaha currently don't have any Bluetooth links, so you can't get any details about that motor, battery, things like that, how many cycles the battery's been through. The guy could just say that he's had it and charged it up 5 times, when reality has done 500 charges. So having that data on hand would be a good one. So you're looking at Specialized, Shimano, and a few of the others that have got that Bluetooth connection.
Look at the components on the bike you're thinking of buying. The chains and sprockets, the tyres, the wheels, the grips, the brakes. Have a look, and critically have a ride in it and see how noisy it is. If it's quiet, you guarantee that bike hasn't done as much use as a bike that's going to be really noisy.
Yeah. Just be careful. It hasn't got a load of Barry, what do you call it? Hiding spray. Just a bit of tyre shine over the bike makes it look all shiny. Can hide a lot of problems. But yeah, just check out those main components and try and probably go from one of the big manufacturers for the actual bike and the motor. You're going to be a lot safer. And aftermarket parts, if that motor does fail, it's going to be readily available.
Or there are some good value bikes at the minute. I mean, the Vitus Summit, £3,500, brand new. Canyon bikes, some of the Canyons come in at about £3,000.
My brother just got in on the e-bike game with a nice Focus as well. That's really knocked down. Yeah, so he's got a nice Focus.
There's some, maybe get a 2018 version of the bike.
Last models. That's a good way of getting into it.
Yeah, totally.
Get that warranty with it as well, so that's important.
Yeah, Robbie Villanova, or Robbie Villanueva. What is the expected lifespan of the motors in terms of riding miles? About 30,000, I think. Looking at different internal designs, some use nylon gears and some metal gears. All of them some grease, but will deplete and harden after some time. Are there maintenance or service requirements after a certain period? Yeah, I think the Shimano motors they're hermetically sealed for 30,000 miles. I think now that's a lot of miles.
It's a hell of a lot.
That's a lot of miles, and I think if you look at the battery cycles, I think the Shimano is guaranteed for, I think it's 1,000 cycles, so that's a lot of miles. And I think the Specialized is 500 cycles, so that's a lot charging and a lot of mileage on your e-bike. So I certainly wouldn't worry in that respect.
You've got Alan Taylor. Hey guys, any chance you could feature some hardtail eMTB in your videos? I'm waiting for my 2019 hardtail to arrive and would love to see you putting you through their paces. We hear you. We've definitely been getting on the hardtails a lot more. We added a couple to our fleet.
Coming soon.
But in the meantime, just check out hardtail versus full suspension, a video that me and Steve did recently on that.
Chris, why on earth would you choose a hardtail over a full suspension bike?
Why on earth would you choose a full suspension over a hardtail though,
Because
Steve?
it's about the performance.
No, it's about the cost and money, come on.
It's about the performance. I
No.
tell you what, 5 tracks, 5 up, 5 down, let's sort it out.
Let's get it done. Got this one in from Martin Bennett. Hi, I watched your video on gearing last night. I run the Yamaha system on my high bike. It has a 38 tooth chainring, but was going to change to a 40 to give me a good top end. My mate Shimano Steps eats the hills better, so you reckon if I dropped to a 36, I'd see a notable improvement?
Tricky. I guess it depends. I mean, if you're where you're riding, basically, I guess a 40. That's you're gonna be hitting that 25k restricted. Depends what country you're from. I guess it's 35 from the US. The great thing about the Yamaha, I'm assuming it's a PWX motor you got. Now, the PWX is really good at lower cadences when you're spinning low speeds. When you get to higher cadences, it tends to taper off a little bit. So yeah, maybe, you know, but I think it depends on the terrain you're riding. So if you get back to us and tell us if it's a PWX or not and the type of riding that you're looking at, then we can give you a fuller answer, Martin.
Got this one in from Nigel Davis as well. Hi guys, what's the email for the bike fault and general questions? Thanks, Nigel. So we've got a couple of ones. We use the upload service. That's down in the description below. That's the easiest way to get any videos or photos across to us. And if you've got any questions, we do a Tuesday show, which is Ask EMBN. Any questions you got, just hashtag Ask EMBN and drop them in the comments box below each video. We go through the comments and see those questions, and we'll get back to you ASAP with all those questions.
Yeah. Julian Pichon de Bury. Hi guys, first I have to say your show is great. That's very kind of you, Julian. Doing exactly what it's meant to do, lighting eMTB passion.
That's what we aim to do.
eMTB passion. I'm watching you from the Reunion Islands. Wow, that's a hell of a spot. And where I'm about to buy my first eMTB,
Nice.
Canevo or Metapower 27.5, still don't know. And the question is still worrying me, is the speed limitation here to protect the user or the motor? Will I lose engine lifespan if I delimitate it?
Bit of a grey area, to be fair. We talk about delimiting e-bikes quite a bit on the show. One thing is for sure, it will void your actual warranty with the manufacturer. Whether it will lessen the lifespan of that engine is debatable too. It's been talked about, you know, something I do on some of my bikes for certain situations. And yeah, I think it's great in the right situation, but there's no need for it out on the normal trails that a lot of people ride.
I think Julian, that it depends where you're riding in the Reunion Islands. I mean, can we come down to the Reunion Islands then sometime? If you're riding, I think you just need to adapt the terrain that you ride in. Because it's easy to ride down a road at 25k plus. Remember, all the different motors work differently above the speed restrictor. So the Specialized is particularly good when you get above 25k. And if you want to see a fuller discussion about this whole speed restriction, I've done a feature, is 25k too slow, which we'll see in detail right here.
The thing with e-bikes is that it can sometimes send your senses totally haywire, especially when it comes to speed at least. Now, we're talking about the restriction on e-bikes, and we've heard a lot of incredibly bright people say that 25 kilometers an hour is simply too slow. And in this video, we're going to be exploring just that. Is it too slow?
So there you go, that's the end of the show. If you guys have got any questions you want to ask us, just hashtag AskEMBN. Drop your question in the comments box below. We'll get back to you next week with your question answered, hopefully. If you've enjoyed today's show, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Drop any comments in the box below. Don't forget to subscribe to EMBN for more awesome e-bike content. And we'll see you in the next week's show.